Okay, very big thank you to Kaingaroa Tupu. I got that right this time. For the use of the facilities today, and congratulations on the name change and the branding. It's good that it's gone back to KT, but that'd be much easier. I'm going to get Lauren just to give us the housekeeping rules and things, and I'll take back over. Thanks, Lauren. Right, I'll just quick introductions of the team. We have Sam over there, who's our Rotorua manager. She's commercial manager, logistics manager, any other sort of manager we can pin title to. She's done a great job in helping organise today, along with Luke and the rest of the team. Speaking of which, Luke over here, most of you know Luke. He's our Atlas team lead, leading multiple projects and master of almost everything. We've got Kaleb, who is over there. He is one of our key developers behind GeoMaster Web, so we'll be hearing a little bit from him. Connor's just there. Connor is the brains behind a lot of what's happening in GeoMaster in the back end. So if you need something fixed in the database, just can't see him. We've got Hugh over there. He's our resident mobile expert, recently been working on the PSP FieldMan application, and now about to start working on GeoMaster Mobile. I think we might even get a sneak peek of something like that.
FieldMan, yep.
Okay, very good. And Vivek over here, now cutting his teeth on development of GeoMaster for ArcGIS Pro. So it's GeoMaster and Apps Manager. I'm Anthony Ham, one of the owners and directors of Integral, and absolutely fantastic to be here, and looking forward to seeing what we can do for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Luke, and he's going to take you through what we're going to be doing today.
Welcome everyone. Agenda for today is a welcome, which I think Anthony's just done. Sam will then do a company update. I will show some new GeoMaster Arc Pro features. Kaleb will do web. Hugh will do FieldMan 2. Oh, and GeoMaster new features, Vivek as well. Anthony's going to give a quick blurb on PlantIT and an integration service that Integral has, and then we'll do the road ahead, which is actually quite involved this year, and a discussion afterwards. So please, if you have stuff to ask, can we do it at the end and not break the flow partway through, unless it's really urgent.
Or perhaps put in the chat.
Yeah, we'll put it in the chat. So yeah. Right, Sam, do you want to?
Since the last year we met, and thanks, there's a much bigger crowd here today. We've had a few changes with the GeoMaster team, but all for the positive. Where we are now, we've now got 6 dedicated people in the team, all with different roles, building on the great foundations that are GeoMaster and the legacy that people that have gone before us have left. So the skills of the current team now offer the ability for us to redevelop products and update them to meet the future need of the industry. And part of this has seen, out of all the people that you didn't see last year, Vivek has joined the team, and he's moved in to support, as Anthony's just said, the GeoMaster for ArcGIS Pro bug fixes and development. So that's been a great addition to the team, and I've taken on more and more of the account management side, which leads me to also saying the support email that was in place last year, and it's great to see everybody using that. My role, I found, has been useful in saying to people, because it's great for us to be able to have the overview of who's asking for what sort of support and where the most need is in terms of support. But we also get that is or can feel less personable than sending an email directly to somebody. So if you feel that you're not being heard or something might have slipped through the cracks, then I'm the person to bug, because I can have a look and the guys can carry on doing the work that you benefit from. So please feel free to reach out to me directly if you feel your ticket isn't being answered quick enough for your needs, because it's not always that super clear. If it's a showstopper, please say in your ticket that it is a showstopper. But yeah, we might not pick up on everything we need to see right at the start. So use me for that. The other thing I should say about that, it is possible for you to have oversight about what's happening with the ticket. We can set you up with that. You've just got to email or request that, and we can set you up with a login. If you have a big team or a few people that will be submitting tickets, one person have oversight to all those tickets as well. So it can work a bit differently than just putting a ticket in and not knowing what's happened to it. And that way you can add notes and bump it that way too. So that's just my talk about
Your email address is.
yes, that's nice and easy. sam@integral.co.nz. Or you can follow up with support at integral.co.nz and just ask the question, what's happening? And I've got oversight to all the tickets as well, so I do have a quick look through to see what's happening as well. Awesome, thank you.
Cool. GeoMaster. I'm going to go through some updates. Some of them have been there since the 141 release, but that came out after the last user meeting, so we'll cover some of those off, and some of them are new things that actually some of you actually have already, but most of you don't. So first thing is chemical thinning events. Chemical thinning events. First, into lookups, which your GeoMaster administrators can get to. On thinning products. So I've find something called Metron, which then you then define thinning elements. So for product Metron is metrosulfone methyl, and I looked that up, 600 grams per gram. Then event type classes. Down here, chemical operation. So I have defined a waste thin C for chemical for all thinning types. Make use of that. Define a thinning event. That waste thin C, and because of that, the thinning products turn up. I have no idea what the application rate is. So So that's all there is to doing that. Filling. You've added risk against events. There is as per normal, have your risk feature classes. Details, what it is, who to contact, severity level. Update risk records. But now, events now get your risks assigned. So the minor one from 141 release is stock book report. Now allows you to have cutover for just active harvest areas, so it will ignore your archived harvest areas. Sometimes you may wish to not have that. It depends on circumstances. Just harvested and archived, maybe don't want that, but a lot of the time you probably want it to ignore your archived harvest area. Right, stand-based chemical usage. Sorry, they're not hearing me. Okay, sorry. Chemical usage report. There is a new button, report by stand. That will export to CSV. Sorry, Connie. Take a drink, but a drink. So this is stand-based, and there's a column here, area basis, actual, as if the chemical usage is on a stand. If you've got a I don't think we'll fire up Excel again for this demo. If I went for a GIS managed if I had a GIS managed chemical use event, it would be derived in the basis thing, and it would be relative size for the thing. And if it was application rate was on a per stem or spot basis, there'd be a stocking in there as well. Right, here's a biggie that we spend quite a lot of time on. Harvest Manager speed up. This was specifically saving cutover. And this was affecting Katie, who I think is here, at Interpine and their clients a lot. Has that improved now?
Yes.
I've got. demo first. I have a harvest area here, I think with 50 settings, 54. Because some of the interplaying clients had harvest areas with 70 settings in them, and saving was taking a very long time. So save now. Take for this particular one was 15 seconds. Be aware this is better than you'll actually see in practice, because this is a local file geodatabase on a local SSD. But even for enterprise geodatabases and hosted feature services on Portal or Arc Online, we have quite major speed ups. I installed 141 last night, and that particular save took 3 minutes, and now it's 16 seconds. And I had an enterprise geodatabase with 70 settings and testing when I was developing, fixing this up, and it went from 39 minutes, yeah, I kid you not, down to 3.5 minutes. So big speed up on saving host areas. Specifically, it's cutover that we've sped up. So if you have no cutover, there won't be a speed up. But yeah, I've done a similar speed up for the assessment planner. Tried it last night and saved instantly, even with 141.1 on this machine. So I'm not going to demo that. But for enterprise geodatabases and Arc Online or Portal, will be sped up. So that's something to look forward to. I do plan to use similar techniques with the patch layer. I just have not done that yet. I don't know if it will make it into 142. It depends how the time works out. Patches are a lot more complicated, so we'll see what we can do. Right. I'm going to hand over to Vivek, who's going to, oh, actually, before I leave there, I was area designer, just some minor bits that I done and Vivek has done. Just be aware I've rearranged this here, so the harvest area and the create, I think that says, is more logically there. That button was over here and not grouped, so I've done that. Cut over. What we will notice now is the cutover layer is pretty much the only editable layer. I noticed we have a little bug here that still has patch.
No, that's intended.
Oh, it's intended. Very good. Yeah, thank you, Connor. If we go to edit harvest roads, it's just that harvest roads is editable. If we go to skids becomes editable, because what I encountered was a whole pile of layers that were editable here, and going and finding the one you actually wanted to use was just about impossible. So just be aware that we have now done this just to make things a little easier. Cutover, we're assigning cutover. We now flash when we do that to see that it's actually done something. And that's the same for mapping mode and crew. And in the set values thing here, which is a bulk way of, so I felt over on the screen. These values, when you set them now, set value in there, it would remember it between sessions. So next time you went to use that, it'll keep the same values. I think you did that for you, Richard, hiding. Yeah, that's maybe thank Vivek for those little fixes there. So I'll hand off to Vivek and he can go through his what he's been up to.
Hello everyone, my name is Vivek and
I'm the newest member of the ArcGIS team. I'm working with Vivek and ArcGIS Pro in GeoMaster. And today I'll be showing you guys a few updates we have made, and hopefully they will be released. They will be there in the next release after we finish testing. So I'll just show you what we have done. So what we have done is like we have added the a new feature that allows you to save multiple maps at the same time, and you can print all the maps using the single command too. For demoing that, just select multiple stands.
I want to deselect the home stuff
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I'll do that. Don't want that line. Then when you go stand maps, in this case we have 4 stands. See the new buttons now, print all maps or save all maps. In this case, I'll try to save that. So we have done that for most of the maps except the assessment maps for now. And for now, it only supports PDF format. But next year, maybe we will try to add the PNG format too. And same thing goes for the print all maps. So you can print all the maps with the single command. But we don't have the printer setup here. That should bring the standard Windows printer dialog. That's not button 3. Just cancel out of here. Now I will try to do the same thing with the setting maps. Yep, so it will be here.
Show them the actual maps you've created.
Yeah. I did select the temp folder and it has created the stand map folder and PDF for each stand. The meaningful name starts with the forest name, then the compartment, then stand, and then date timestamp. Try and do the same thing for settings map now. Next thing we have done is like changes. We have made changes how the paths is an update utility logs. So in the Atlas config tab, we have added options. So a user can select what elevation type they want to use. So that originally we had the contour only. Now a user can choose DEM raster or easily surface. I'll just go with the standard one. Try to select some patches. So it's a bit slower with the control layers. It's going to take up to like 30 to 40 seconds to finish updating 29 paths. But with DEM raster, we have noticed like it is like 10 times faster to use the raster layers. I'll be showing that next. That's about it.
I'm going to join a sailing club, I think, and really try and.
As you can, like it's quite faster when using the DEM raster layers. It's a bit faster when using the easily surface layer too, but not as much as the DEM was. And the other thing we have added is the changes to the area sketch tool, how it works. We have added the plan stance support to the report. I'll just bring some plan stance here.
Yeah, big change, right? Yeah.
Yep, so now you can see the plan stand details too in the area sketch tool report.
Yeah, so it'll be sort of half.
It's fine.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's done. That is. Vivek was wrong as we actually do support multi-map printing for assessment maps as well. It's just that I did it, and so you want to see that working, or just take it on faith that it's there. Just get this one. And what you will notice is the assessment map is a lot faster now due to this feature to the layer. And we can configure where this gets saved to, so you don't have to do this every time. There you go, there's your assessment map. Next, don't be comment.
Hello everyone, it's good to see you all. I've already had a chat with a couple of you. Hopefully I can chat with a few more before the end. So I want to talk about our release schedules. So currently, as you may know, we usually release around the end of the year. But that usually clashes with around when Esri release, same with our mid-year releases. So to better align and to try and make it so that way we're not always playing catch up, we are planning to move when we release, so it'll be in first quarter and the third quarter of every year going forward. So that way we don't have to play catch up. So when Esri update the ArcGIS versions, occasionally they will bump .NET versions. These are generally considered breaking changes. And so for us, we won't be able to support you if you're on previous .NET versions. So for example, Arc Pro 3.3 and 3. All the way through to 3.6 uses .NET 8. But all versions from 3.7 onwards will be using .NET 10. And that's quite a big change in terms of how we can support you. So I figure that's something that I should also mention. We're also looking at bumping up our minimum SQL version. So I don't think it's been bumped up in a very, very long time, but Microsoft have dropped support for a number of versions since we've last bumped it. So the minimum now will be SQL Server 2016. The extended support runs out next year. With all of these changes and our support and everything, from, if we can get a heads up that you're really locked in, you can't move, we can still support you, but we need to have it a discussion and figure out how that might look.
Next release.
Right. So our next release plans to support the newest SQL Server 2025.
Oh, Pro versions.
Oh yes, and also our next version of GeoMaster will be for Arc Pro 3.5 and 3.6. And we're hoping to release that in the new schedule, so in Q1 of next year. So on that, we're also making some more changes to how we handle error logging. So Richard and the team have gotten an early copy with GeoMaster Web of how we're hoping to do error logging, and it's helped immensely for GeoMaster Web. So I figure rather than showing off a fake error or something like that, I will just show you what we get to see. So when you guys get errors, we'll be able to see them in near real time and figure out what's gone wrong, and we can help respond much quicker. We don't need to ask you for logs or anything like that. And it gives us really nice ways to track down where it's happening, how often is it happening quite recently. For things like a while ago, mean top height, it broke. We weren't able to calculate it. And that was all because of a Windows update. And if we had something like this, an easy way to track down why things are happening, or at least where they're happening and for who, it makes it a lot easier for us to figure out how to fix it. And so starting from our next release of Arc Pro, we're planning to use this.
Is it anonymized, Connor?
Yeah. So I suppose you were wondering as well, we don't store any personal information. So at most, all we know is what company it's coming from. That's it. Doesn't have any other data. And all that is that's just based off the licenses that we give you every year. The licenses per company, and that lets us basically know.
Do you want to click on one of those and just drill in a bit?
Go to Arc Pro ones. The web ones are for Olsons.
Yep.
So it shows us versions of .NET, might show us a specific version of Windows that you're on, which is also helpful, especially in the case of that mean top height breaking, because that was based off of a Windows update. Lets us know around about where it's happened, how many people have gotten it, who's looked at it, and it also shows us some developer stuff. So if me or Luke have made changes to the code for that release, it'll tell us that me and Luke are probably the cause.
It would be you.
It's never me.
As you can see, there's no real GeoMaster information there, data-wise. So it's just developer code stuff we'll get back.
It's basically the error logs, but we can get them much easier and way more detailed.
Yep.
We don't need to ask you what GeoMaster version you're on. We don't need you to figure out what versions of anything you're on. Anything that's related to our code is all nicely done, shown.
And that will be coming with the next GeoMaster
Yep.
release.
Yep. So that'll be in our next release.
Will this be, you probably need to go talk to your ITs and stuff. Will this be a problem for anyone? Please get back to us if it is.
Yeah. So last year at our user group meeting, we presented sort of the idea of GeoMaster Web. We were kind of in its infancy, but we've come very far since then. So Kaleb and I, for the first part of the year, were squirreling away, trying to get something together for PF Olsons. And it's been quite exciting. A lot of learning involved, but it has been really good, really, really good. So we released a GeoMaster Lite version for Olsons, sort of around mid-2025, and we're working with them currently. to try and support them through to a full rollout for the company. So I suppose I'll let Kaleb talk about the current progress and where we're at. He'll give a demo and show what's changed.
Hey guys. So when we last left off last year, everything was all front end and all the data was either in GIS or in snapshot tables. So now we've moved off of that and we've got our GeoMaster API running in the background, which links up nicely to GeoMaster Web. People that weren't here last year uses either Arc Online or if you have an enterprise portal, uses that. Oh, we didn't get apps. And so that single sign-on is also used for the GeoMaster API. If you go to the dashboard, list of web maps and feature services, and you can filter these by group in online or in portal, so that you're not overflowing with everything you have online. Here's our data here. And this is still hosted over in America. I would say it's sort of the delay has improved since last year for fetching data. So as you can see on the side here, this is all coming from the API now. Live GeoMaster data, the event list. You can toggle the amount of columns you want. So there's the events, and it's just sort of the base event details that get pulled through. We've added support for plan stands, of which this dataset has none, so just take my word for it. Sketch area tool also has plan stand support, and it's been implemented, and so you can export that out to a CSV file, but Excel wasn't giving anyone a good time, so. We can link events to GIS managed polygons. So if we wanted this planting that second fertilizing layer, anyone the feature out of that. We can't get it in that one. The assessment planner is fully finished, so that you can prepare assessment plots for an existing event, or you can create a new assessment standalone and you copy this to the strata layer. To edit to create a stand map. As you probably saw this last year, that you load up a map template file that's sitting on your portal or online. We've got support now for buffer with colors, and so this is where your transparency's gone, and also give buffers. Export, that'll actually do all of its work in the background and leave you free to you on doing what you're doing while you wait for the print service to generate a PDF file. You use these buttons here to navigate up to a stand, up to a compartment, or up to the forest. This is the exported file. And data like the species comes through from the API and other configured values, which aren't in this layout. So to go back to the stand, you can use stand events. So that'll be different to patch events. Do event maps. That'll just select all the patches the event occurred on, offer it. And station. You can also export your assessments to GPX files. You just click on that, get a GPX. They don't look like anything, so they're worth showing you. Measure tool is still here. That area. And so, yeah, when you have created your assessment with the assessment planner, be able to get generating with this existing strata. You have to fill in your values. These all interlinked just like existing GeoMaster. Thinking that was too much. So yeah, great layouts. And when these are saved, they get sent through the API to create a new assessment event. Good to yeah. There we go. And so when you don't create that many, you notice one of them was an edge plot, this one's not. It was out here, you move it in, boundary goes back to normal once you're in. Or if you don't want that one at all, you can just delete it. And if you add another one down here, and you can add more plots. And so when you're finished with that, save. And since this was existing event, it won't ask you for the date, and it'll ask you if you want to create the assessment map. So let's create one of those with a negative yellow buffer. So it grabs assessment details from the API. Once it's ready, it'll send it off to the print service.
That's running on ArcGIS.
Yes. So should that is on your system? Yeah. Finds an assessment. There's the app. See with big yellow because then you can't see the plots.
And can I guess that this is your test map of every possible placeholder?
This might be. So we've only got a few select placeholders coming through at the moment, like job number and primary plots. Potentially something else I can't see. Yeah, so that's the bulk of it, is interacting with the API, saving assessments, creating maps, and the assessment planner.
Hello, everybody. I'm Hugh. Been in Lisbon for about a year now. For most of the time, I've been working on FieldMan 2. And yeah, I get right into it, I suppose. I've just got a couple points to sort of speak on. Not too much, and then I'll just get into a demonstration. But if you've got any questions or anything, in the meantime, just feel free to hit me up now and happy to answer if I can. Or divert you to Luke if I can't. Cool. So I guess the first things to cover is the reasons for development. So probably should have been the first point, but the deprecating software and hardware. The old Allegros aren't being made anymore nor supported, and same with Windows CE, which is what the original FieldMan was developed on, which means that we can't get it anymore, can't really make applications for it anymore, can't do a lot of fixes for that sort of stuff anymore. So we've decided to upgrade and improve it to a more modern framework, which is anything mobile, so Android or iOS. We've decided to develop it in .NET MAUI, which is a cross-platform framework. So we've got one code source that works for both Android and iOS. And when you push an update, there's one single update for both. So there's no separate updates for either. We focused on getting the Android development done first. There's a lot of platform specifics involved. And that's because the new Allegro Archer 4s run on Android. So currently it works on the Allegro Archer 4s. I've actually had a good test on it. It's what the 2 field trips and tests is about. I went out with Interpine twice to do some PSP data capture for forests owned by here actually in Pangaroa, which was very interesting. So I'll quickly have a chat about the improved process. So if you're familiar with the old process, it's someone gets the old XPV from PSP, and then they have to load it onto Allegros or pass it off to someone who's going to then load it onto Allegros. They've got to do a bunch of copying onto other devices. People go out, they take their measurements, they hand them all back to the manager of the process, and then they amalgamate it all into one file, hand it back. Then you can make it an XNW and put it back into PSP. So there's quite a bit of data handoff going on there. We figured we could probably make that a lot easier if we do some data hosting and passing around like that online. So the current process that we're looking at doing is there's a website to FieldMan 2 where administrators can upload an XPV. Then they can create users for contractors or admin, and then they can allow visibility for who can see what XPVs where for certain sign-ins for those users. They can edit those files and they can mark measurements as complete. And once the measurements are all done, they should be able to push into an XNW, and eventually we're hoping to tie it into PSP. Is that right?
Yeah, longer term, I hope for PSP to talk directly to the website for both pulling and pushing. At the moment, we're still doing the XNW XPV file thing as a first step, but ultimately, direct connection.
Cool, yeah. So yeah, long term, you'll be able to push it straight to PSP. But for the moment, we can push it out into an XNW, which you can then push into PSP manually. But that cuts a bunch of the passing around, getting people to come into the office, side loading all the stuff that you need into their Allegros, all of that jazz. So yeah, that's the general process improvement that we're looking to make. The process for the mobile app of it, it's really quite easy. You download the mobile app, you've got it there. Someone on the admin side has already made you a user account. So you sign in with your user credentials. And then you're able to see all of the batches that you're allowed to see, that the admin's allowed. From there, you can download the batches. You can look at all the plots inside those batches. You can measure the ones that you need to measure, and then you can upload them all back. Easy as that. And then an administrator can sign into the device, and they can delete all of the data from the batches and stuff like that when they're ready to do so. which we've been told is about a year. They typically want them on for the whole season or something like that. So yeah, users with the mobile stuff can complete the measurements, they can upload the measurements, and if they want to, they can download already uploaded measurements and they can make changes and push them back up, and that should reflect on the website as well. So yeah, hang on, let me go back. And those 2 field trips and tests, there were 2 different demographics that I found. The first trip was with a couple of younger foresters. They were in their 20s, early 20s, mid 20s. Really cool dudes, and I gave them a go on the mobile app, and they picked it up immediately. They had no issues with it because they're young. They use their mobiles all the time. They had a good flick around. They told me what they liked. They didn't have an issue using it. The second demographic was the more seasoned foresters that have been using the original FieldMan for 10 plus years. Yeah. It was a little bit jarring for them, which actually was surprising to me, but they found it quite difficult to use. Where's my trees? How do I go back? Yada, yada, yada. But it's all set up to be natively controlled with regular Android control. So if you want to go back a screen, you push your back button. The menu stuff is where menu stuff would normally be in an Android application. So with some training, and it wouldn't be too difficult, with some basic training, I'm sure they'd pick it up quite easily. By the end of my second trip with more seasoned foresters, they started picking it up a lot easier and they liked it a bit more. And then you've also got the dudes in between, right? Like one of the dudes who came with me, took me on the trip actually, was Adrian Morkey from Interpine. And he found it really easy to use the mobile app. And he's someone who has been using FieldMan 1 for a number of years, 10 years plus sort of deal. But he had no issues. He's like, oh, it's actually really, really fast and I really like it. So yeah, you'll find some of the foresters will find the change jarring, but it shouldn't be too much of a training or learning for them to sort of pick it up and get into it. Move slides here. Oh yeah, so some of the challenges faced while I was developing this. Very niche use case data structure. So, and that ties in with the PSP requirements. So PSP has a very, I want to say, locked down data set. It won't receive stuff that it doesn't want to receive. And a lot of the data isn't super readable when it comes straight out of the PSP. So for us building the application for just regular mobile users, there was a lot of sort of conversion and converting back to make sure that when you get date times and all that jazz, it comes through as a readable date. It's not just, 1968, 0617 in one big jumble. You actually get like a nice little date coming through and you can sort of make sense of what you're looking at a lot quicker. So yeah, there's a lot of conversion going with the data where we convert it to something readable, you input it, it sends it back up to the web and it converts back to something that PSP will accept. I've already mentioned the learning curve for the users. Probably the biggest challenge faced was the keyboard navigation. So keyboard navigation in the original FieldMan was pretty easy to implement because it's a Windows application and Windows expects just keyboard only. Android and mobile devices, they don't expect keyboard only. You're pretty much fighting against the framework to make it do something it's not supposed to do. If you look at applications like Google and YouTube, none of them work with just the keyboard. You'll find yourself getting stuck in big traps and you're stuck in circles, you can't access controls. So making it do what we wanted it to do was a huge learning curve. But we've got it to a point now where it's actually working quite comfortably and acceptably.
And Luke's happy.
And Luke's happy with it, which is a pretty big deal. So yeah, I'll be able to show you guys that in the demonstration, which I can get stuck into now. Okay, so yeah, for the people who are in the Teams meeting, you'll probably see a bit of a better representation of this. For everyone in the room here, it's going to look a lot slower than it actually is because I'm passing the view through a bunch of different places just to get it up here. But if you want to have a look at it at any stage, feel free to come up and just have a chat. I'm happy to show you. But here it is on the phone. So I'll just be using this from here. So yeah, I suppose first things first, if you're going to self-host your data, what you're going to do it as a software as a service, right?
Both, I suspect.
Yeah, both, yeah. So if you're going to host your own data, there's a spot here where you can put your custom URL in, so it'll point back to your database there. Otherwise, the standard will just be our current setup for data. And then we've got one user set up here. Get signed in. Cool. So now we're all signed in, and these are the two batches that are available. The one that's outlined in light blue is currently downloaded on the device, and it shows that 2 of the plots out of the 6 that are in that batch have been done. The top one has not been downloaded yet. It's just sitting in the cloud waiting to come down. So I can should pull it down. That's I think 56 plots in that test batch. Yep, 56, yeah. So if I pop open one of these batches, it'll take us down to the plot level. And then these are all of the available plots here. Now I've got some tabs across the top where it says active, complete, uploaded, all. That's where all of the different plots go when you've set them. So if you've measured a plot but you haven't uploaded it, it comes in through here. If you've measured a plot and uploaded it, it comes in through here. Otherwise, you can see everything in this one. And it orders them by which ones are active to which ones are uploaded. If we drill into one of the plots here, you can see the so you got your location, easting, northing, forest, compartment, previous cover, topography, comments there if there are any. If you want to edit them, you just tap edit, and then you can just write whatever comment you like in here. Then save it, saves it there, and then when you upload it, it'll push it back up to the data as well and save it in the new XMW that's coming through for it. We've got some details off to the side here. So that's where you've got your code for the plot, whether it's growth and yield, growth rate. You can sort of pick between anything in this picker. And it works similar to the old FieldMan where you pick something, you can add it or you can remove it. So if I wanted to take away that GR, then I'd find that code in there and then I'll just remove it from there. I've got crops, so you can add your crops here, or you can view what crops are available in the plot. When you're adding stems to a new plot, you can only add stems, you can only add crops that are like available to that plot. So if you wanted to add a new crop for a new stem that's in there for region or something like that, you'd have to add it in here. I can walk you through that really quickly. So if I tap on add crop, these are all of the fields that you need for a crop. So you need a species. We've currently got this list here that we got from Scion. Yes, it's just another radiata or something like that. Got a plant date that it needs to have, I don't know, a year ago from now, right? Height age table. These are all custom values for you guys. Tree volume table, GF rating, and seed lots. So just check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Should be able to add that crop. Success. And there it is in the crop list there. So now if I go to add a new stem and it asks me what crop I want, I've got a choice between these two. And if I want to add any more, then I add more. And then we can go to measure the plot. So these are your TM user labels, which are always typically custom values. If you've got one for the previous measurement, it will carry over here. So Interpine do a lot of, I think it was Desk 2 was one of their current or constant TM user labels, and it was always in their TM user label too. So if I pulled over one of those batch files and I measured one of those plots, it would be in here. And then there's the crew name here as well. So just type to test, start that new measurement. There we go. And this is what the form currently looks like. So there's a few different things here. It immediately loads up, it checks all the fields and it tells you what you're missing. As you fill it up, it should all clear up and then let you know when you're good to go. So these are all of the available fields that come with the XPVs. And if we want to like thin that out, I noticed when we went out measuring stuff, we only really measured a few things at a time, right? It was like DBH, total height, green height, green crown height, prune height, and then throw on some desk codes and stuff like that as well. So in here is like it was on the top right. Actually, I should have showed you guys that. In the top right there, there's a little reorder symbol. So if I tap on that, brings up the screen here, and then we've got all of the fields listed. So I can tap on these fields to turn them off, or I can tap these arrows to rearrange them if I want to change the order. This saves. So every time I enter a new measurement, it'll be the same unless I go back in and change it back over again. Get rid of most of them and leave the stuff that we measured the last time I went out. It's basically status, DBH, sample height, total height, crown height, prune height, disk code, and we'll add comments. We'll leave comments there, which is a new field we've chucked in there. Cool. And then that's what it looks like. That's your max list right there. So for status, we've got alive, dead, wind thrown, felled, and branching. If you pick any of the dead statuses, it should turn the sample height off. So if I say this is wind thrown, dead actually, yeah, it's dead. The sample height gets turned off. It's no longer a sample height tree. How can it be? It's dead. I'll chuck that back to alive, make it a sample height again. And immediately it's telling us we need a DBH. Now we need total height. So I'll chuck in a DBH. Now we've carried over all of the checks from the old FieldMan. So if I put in DBH that's too small, right, 200, tells me the DBH shrank by more than 3 mil. If I put it too high, exceeds the max height of 2 meters. So all of the old checks that were in the old FieldMan, in this FieldMan as well, they're all available. So you should actually know what's wrong with the measurement if there's something wrong with it. So we'll put in a sensible height for a year's growth, something like 320. Yeah, surprised, but most of the trees grew by 100 when I went last time. yeah. Total height, so for 320, I'm going to do something like 22.4. Oh, 2.4. Cool. And you can see like those are the two main ones that had issues. They've all cleared up. I think if I put in something that's higher than the current height for the crown height, it should let me know. Yeah, crown height is greater than the total height. Doesn't work. So if I put in say a 13-meter crown height, go. Prune height was at 0 last time, so I don't have to measure it, but I can always chuck something in. And then we've got our description codes. So these are the list of description codes that we got from a mix of places. Yeah, I mean, we'll be doing some serious field testing in the next season. So if we're missing any or we need to add any or there's some custom values that you guys need to input, you can always let us know and then we can account for them at that stage.
These aren't in the XPV, I take it.
No. The XPVs come with a set of description codes, but they're not always full. Sometimes there might be some descriptions that aren't in the XPVs. They carry really old data, which is why I think Interpine used Desk2 to fill out a bunch of different ones. So yeah, you can just tap on one of these and it will let you know what you're putting in there. So CA for canker, tells you there, CA for canker. When it saves to the XNW, it just saves the description code CA. I won't save the canker part, that's just for readability. And you can add a test comment here. Next, and then that's it. So it should say the tree should be measured. So if I tap back and go back to that tree, you can see at the top there if I measured, it's checked off, say it's done. If I tap on there's a little magnifying glass icon there. If I tap on that, it brings up a list of all the trees. Now tree 1 is highlighted blue. It's got a little symbol there to tell me that it's a sample height tree. And because it's highlighted, it means it's complete. I've just navigated away from tree 2 without inputting any values. So it's red telling me, hey, you've left this tree and it's got errors in it. So we can tap in there, fix what's going on. So it's not a sample height, it just needs a TBH. I can put in 350. It's got an existing stem code, FK. So if it's still like that, I can leave it like that. Then I hit next. And now if I jump in my tree list again, there we go, it's all measured. We're currently on tree 3. If I leave tree 3 now, it'll tell me tree 3's got an error if I haven't input any data. So you pretty much follow that process all the way to the end and then you measured your plot. Once you get there, it validates it as well. So we carried some of the same logic over from FieldMan, but we sort of wrapped it in for this mobile style. But it'll go through your entire measured stuff, check for any errors, if it's a DBH error, a height error, or any other type of error, and then it'll tell you how many of which errors are left. It won't tell you exactly where they are, but it's easy enough if you just tap this, you'll be able to see that they're highlighted in red, then you can go to them, correct them, and then, yeah, then you can leave the measurement and mark it as complete. It will allow you to mark a measurement as complete if there is an error in it, but only if you're sure. Like it really asks you, like, you're sure you want to do this? And you say, yep, it's okay. So you can do it. But yeah, it's not something that it likes, so to speak. So that's a general sort of measurement there. And because I haven't finished that measurement, like I said, I left before I actually finished the plot, that's marked as incomplete. And I don't know if you saw, I did it pretty quickly, but it asked me, do I want to leave this measurement incomplete? And I said yes. Should have spoken through and I did. I'll quickly show you guys how you can add a plot. So it just asks for the general required stuff, or you can use a free format here where you can put in anything. It follows the exact same process as the existing FieldMan. So if I say, I don't know, we'll just make up some stuff here, right? KD 25, plot 5, so plot 3, forest can be FRST, apartment can be 1, span can be 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Location somewhere in the bush. Cool. Add those details. So the outlined blue ones are required. If you leave them out, it'll tell you what you left out. So the standard is 0.04 for a PSP. I can pick a purpose code, species performance. Aspect is required, so pick it off. And then if I leave structure unselected and I try to just go straight to the crop area, it tells me that the structure is required at the bottom. So I can tap on that. pick a standard structure and then move on to the crops. This is identical to adding crops before, where we pick a species, a plant date, sometime in the past. Okay, and we can leave the rest of it unchecked if we want to. Your ESTAB details, so these are completely optional. You don't have to add any of them. You can if you like. It fills out the table. So spacing 2, tree spacing 3, previous cover, set bracken, for feeds, and flats. Next, and then the last thing we need is a crew. It's a test. You can add the rest of this optional, so you can add crop types. If we want to add user label, then these are all the user labels that have been previously used for this batch. Otherwise, you can push cancel and you can enter your own one in here. But we use disk too. It's pretty popular from my understanding. And then we can click create plot and measure, and then that'll take us to an empty plot. There's no trees found. And then from here, I can start adding stems. So,
how do you do that?
oh, sorry. The little plus sign at the top there next to the magnifying glass, that's where we add a stem. So from there, I can tap the plus. I can start adding stems. So type in tree 1. If I don't choose a crop type, it'll choose the default one, which is your first crop type. But there's only one crop available, so I can just leave that out. You can add a fork or a quad. You can't add A. And the reason is that A is implied by the existing tree. So if you're adding a fork to a tree that's already there, you can't change the name of that. But that's something that someone on the web end can easily change if they see that a B has been added, and they can leave that in the comments or something like that to let them know. Cool. So I'll just add tree number 1. Add tree number 2. And if I try to add tree number 1 again, didn't let me. Oh, interesting. Let me try that one more time. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, duplicate tree. So a tree with the same number, fork, and quadra already exists in this plot measurement, so I can't do it again. But I can add a 1C. I've already added a B. Yeah. And that should list them all correctly. I don't know why it let me do that second one. That's not normal. So yeah, I can close that off. That's pretty much how you create a plot. There's less checks involved in new plots because there's no previous measurements to check against. But it will still tell you if you're missing a DBH, or if you set it as a sample height tree, it'll still tell you if you're missing a sample height, and it'll still register them as errors if you try to leave the measurement. So yeah, there's an example of that. And then I've only got a couple more things to really cover. So in this one here, I've got a complete plot, I believe. It's sitting in completed plots, and I've got an uploaded plot sitting over here. So in this completed plot, because it's already been, the measurement's already been started and it's been finished, if I click measure plot, it should just take me straight there. The crew and all that jazz has already been set. So it takes me straight into the plot measurement there. I can see there's only 5 trees in this plot. 1, 2, 2B, 2C, 3, 4, yeah. And then I suppose I can try and show you guys like an example of the validation stuff. So if I leave that empty and I make that sample height tree, and then I try to say it's done, there we go. I've got a height error count 1. So I can either save it anyway or I can go back. And if I go back and I don't know where it is, I can tap the magnifying glass. Clearly shows me it's at tree 4. So I can come here and then it's outlined where the problem is, you know. So I can come back in here and say, oh yeah, it's 18.4. Done. Measurement complete. Once measurements are complete, if you come back to the batch level, so I just tap back twice in this little bottom menu here, you can upload it by clicking the little up cloud there. And what that will do is it'll search the batch for any plots with a complete status, and then it'll upload those ones specifically. So any that aren't complete, it won't upload. They'll stay there and they'll stay in the active area. So if I tap that there, that should start sending it up to the cloud. Plot data uploaded successfully. And then it'll be gone from complete. It'll be added to the uploaded areas there. And then, yeah, all of my active ones are still here. I can tap into them, start measuring them. It just stops people from, you know, remeasuring the same plot a couple of times. You can tell the status. And then if anyone else signs in with the same user on a different device and downloads the batch details, these will be uploaded. So they won't have access. Well, they'll have access to them, but they won't see them in active. They won't be able to measure them on accident unless they're trying to get into those plots to make changes or do whatever they need to do. Yeah, so from that process, it all goes straight up to the web, And then whoever's got access to the web sign-ins should just be able to sign in on the website. They'll see all the plots that have been measured. They can check them over, make changes if they need to, mark them as complete, and push them to an XNW. And that's pretty much the bulk of the work we've put into this over the year. Is there anything I've missed? Oh, keyboard navigation?
Keyboard navigation required.
Yeah.
This is for the Archer 4, the Allegro keyboard.
Yeah, the Allegro. So I'll just quickly close that because it means to register that there's keyboard going on. This is probably the hardest thing to get sorted. But I'm glad to say that we managed to do it. Cool. So yeah, just a tab will send you to the next thing. Shift tab will take you back. So in an Allegro, there's like a big arrow to the right and a big arrow to the left. That's tab and that's shift tab. So it's back and forward, should take you between controls. Yeah, no small feat making it do that small thing, I'll tell you that much. So I'm just basically tabbing between all the controls, and it should go through them systematically. We've got our batches and stuff highlighted here. So if I tap into one of these ones here, tab into that. We've got shortcuts for everything. So F1 through to F7, I think. So if you see any menu stuff up top, like complete there, that would be F2. Active would be F1. Uploaded would be F3. All would be F4. That's just very sequential to try and make things a bit easier. See if we can tap into one of these. Same here, F2 would take you to details. F1 would take you back to the plot. And then crop stuff down there. So it's a mixture of tab and arrow keys, but that's pretty much how the Allegros function. Same deal here, I can add in my own thing there. I need a crew, test, measurement. This is probably the hardest part, getting this to behave how I wanted it to behave. So you can see, oh, you can't really see up there because it's so bright, but it's highlighted. If I show you like that sort of deal, you can see there's a clear highlight. Looks like that on the Allegro. So I can push enter on that, and then it'll take me here where I can choose a code. Once I enter that code, it should take me to the next row. And then, yeah, it's as easy as that. I can just tap on stuff and open it, input what I want. So 230, enter, takes me to the next row. I can use the arrow key to change row if I want to. If I want to add a total height, so that's 12.5, enter, next row. Ground height, 6, enter, next row. So it's really quite intuitive and easy to use the keyboard. But again, this was probably the biggest challenge I had in developing this entire app, was just making this work. So everything else was a massive learning curve in terms of data and how to make it function. But usability was the hardest thing that took the most research to get into. And it's a small thing, but if you're using this out in the field, it's really important. And it's probably important to say that when I went on my field tests, it wasn't at this stage. So some of the users were getting pretty frustrated at times with the keyboard navigation, but now it would be a lot easier for them to sort that out. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to show you guys today. We've come a bit of a way. We should have the web stuff sorted at some stage shortly, I take it.
Shortly, I hope.
Yeah. And then once that's all sorted, which should be by the next season, and we're hoping to get some testing done, I believe. Yes. Cool. So thanks for listening, and yeah. Thanks to Luke.
Any questions?
Oh, yeah, questions. Yes.
With a local database that's behind the apps, do you back it up in your device?
Pardon me, with a local database.
Database, I think you use SQLite.
I'm using SQLite, yeah.
Do you back it up at the device level?
I mean, all of the data that gets pulled gets saved to the SQLite database. There's like swap files and stuff involved with SQLite, which keeps like, changes. So like, if you're asking if like what happens if the app dies or something when I'm mid measurement, yeah, that's fine. Basically, I've set it so that it changes tree by tree, it saves. So if I made like an edit to this tree here that we're looking at now, and I move to the next one, and then the app died here, right? So we're on tree number 2. If I kill the app here, it's saved that first measurement. So if I come back, keyboard mode, I come back in here and I come here and that says it's incomplete, and I tap on there, measure the plot. It should take me back to the last tree that I was measuring, which is tree number 2. The first tree that I'd measured already should all be saved. So every time I move from tree to tree, it saves it to the database. In terms of like what happens if it doesn't actually get saved to the actual SQLite database, SQLite comes with the swap files where there's like a temporary save of the data you've made changes to, as opposed to the data that's currently sitting in there. So if anything does go like monumentally wrong, you should be able to either access those files, or they should be able to merge after being on for a little while, and then it should resolve it. But the data outside of the application is inaccessible, which is how we want it to be, how I was told it should be. Yeah, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, it's sandbox, so you can't get into it.
Yeah, yeah.
So just the case happened to our case yesterday or 2 days ago when we asked a contractor to sign out, say, one apps. Instead of signing out, he deleted the apps. And by deleting the apps, he's deleting the SQLite database with that.
Right, I see.
Yeah, so just be careful. It's a good way to keep that SQLite somewhere, because I know that you have enough storage in the device to capture at least 7 days.
Yeah,
Just in case, because the people don't understand how you instruct them over the phone, sign out and sign in just to trigger the authentication. They actually delete the apps and pull the app back from the.
yeah.
Sorry. That's
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like if people upload the application, like if they upload the measurements as soon as they're done in their backend service, it won't matter if they delete the apps, because they can re-download the app, sign back in, pull it, and if they've already uploaded it, it'll be there. But I understand what you're saying, where the danger is if they've completed something and they haven't uploaded it yet, and then they delete the application. At current, yes, the data that's saved in the phone, the SQLite database, will go with the application package, which is, yeah, that's a pain point, right? But I guess it's something we can look into.
Yeah, on iOS, there's a files app, and you can dump stuff there. Don't know about Android.
I could extract stuff and I could dump it. The issue is making it public.
Yeah.
Because if you're pulling data out of the SQLite database and you're just dropping it into a file for anyone to read, that might be an issue for, some companies or organizations and all that jazz. Which is why it's set to be sandboxed and locked, so that only people that have the sign-in can see that data. So like if I had a different login and that login had a different set of data it could see, if I logged in with that, I wouldn't be able to see any of this stuff. I'd only be able to see the
For
stuff.
example, you can back up that database and you can swap it into other device, and then you kind of using the proper authentication back into database and extract data or salvage data, which we use with a 713. That's why we save data.
Yeah.
So that's why I really asked you.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
In case you can just back it up, because people behave differently.
100%. Yeah, totally. It comes down to the user when you let these things out into the wild air.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So LAN Server 123 works how you would like it. Is that the thing? Server 123.
Yeah, no, I'm on it.
It's afternoon's job.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, Hugh does get encouraged to look at the Esri Server 123 field apps for inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've spent a good chunk of time in field apps. I mean, this mobile app is currently at the MVP, right? Like the minimal viable product. So it functions. I've taken it out, tested it, it works. But that's not to say this is the end game for it. There's clearly a long way that we can take it, and a lot more that we can do to it to scale it and make it work how the industry wants it to work, really. That's the point. So, thanks for the question.
Thanks, Hugh.
No problem.
Right. One of the things that we've been working on at Integral, which is like a little bit off to the side of GeoMaster and associated tools, is something called PlantIT. PlantIT is basically what it is. Get this. No. Yep, that'll do. Okay, what is it? It's a mobile app designed to provide detailed traceability of trees from nursery to forest. So It's based on a mobile app, to be quite simple, and used at every stage of the chain of custody. So that's from the nursery where the trees are uplifted, through to transport where the boxes are uplifted from the nursery, right through to where they're delivered, and then off to planting. Right. So why? And I'll come back to, I'll run through this. So seedling morbidity is an issue with trees that are coming from nurseries and get planted. There've been several instances of boxes being delivered to a planting site, and then a planting crews come along and gone and planted them, and there's dispute about how long those trees were left sitting in the sun. You've got a truck driver that says, "Oh, I dropped them off this morning," when actually dropped them off a few days ago. Well, you've got a planting crew going, "Oh, we planted them so and so," then it was planted at a different time. The next one is proof of delivery disputes, and again, that's linked to deliveries. We've got the return of cartons. So I'm not sure if everyone's seen those cool flute boxes that are used for transporting seedlings. They're not cheap, and the nurseries quite like to have them back. So one of the problems that has been we're trying to reduce with this is trying to get those boxes back. And then lastly, biosecurity. If there is a disease that is nursery born, we need to know where those trees are being planted in the forest so that can be addressed if it becomes a problem like that. And that is one of the reasons why Forest Growers Research actually helped fund the development of this application. Right, current practices. So in the nursery, handwritten box counts are quite typical, paper dockets, and there's probably as many ways of recording these things as there are nurseries around. For transport, basic manifests, manual logs, no real time location, and proof of delivery, often unclear or late. At the planting site, manual notes, whiteboard tallies, hard to confirm planting timing and completion. Traceability, fragmented paper records, and it quite often happens where you have nurseries selling to other, selling to forests, and they aren't the same organisation. And then visibility, no live updates or oversight, limited accountability. So with the PlantIT, it's based on QR code scanning, so we get instant visibility of uploaded information. With the transport, we use GPS scanning for the location where the goods are, where they've been uplifted from, where they've been delivered to. And at the time of planting, again, it's scanning QR codes on boxes, so we can verify what's been opened up in terms of boxes and where they've been planted. So we get a full digital audit record or audit trail of where these things come from and where they've gone to. And in the background, we can have real-time dashboarding of showing where things are in terms of current deliveries out to the forest. Right, starts with what happens in the nursery. There's two modes for this. One is we can have an uplift worker scanning the individual boxes that they are filling up from when they're lifting the seedlings out of the ground. Or we can have put into supervisor mode where Kevin will be over here and Sally will be over there and Sam will be over there, and they're filling all these boxes, and the supervisor will come along and go, all right, these are Kevin's boxes, scan, Sam's boxes, scan, and so on. So that's the supervisor mode. The Other thing to note with this is how the scanning works. When the application is opened up into scanning mode, you can have, at the moment, it's almost an unlimited number of boxes. You open up the scan and you just go across all the QR codes and it picks all of them up and scans them in one go without having to go rescan, rescan, rescan. So the camera stays open, sweep across all the boxes and it picks up all the boxes in that one scan. And you get confirmation of what got scanned in that sweep. Right, from the transport point of view, one thing, I'll go back slightly. One thing that happens is when boxes are scanned, they're actually put onto pallets or in pods. And from there, we can actually treat them as a group of boxes. When the transport operator comes along, he can simply scan the pallet code or the pod code, and it then instantly knows that all the boxes that are in that pod or pallet are in that consignment. Right, in transit, as I mentioned, if the cartage contractor or cartage person has the mobile app with them, it is actually tracking real time where they are, as long as there's coverage, which at the moment, coverage starts to get a bit scratchy in certain places, but as I understand it, next year, I think 1NZ are rolling out LTE to mobile devices on the one network. So that may not be an issue too much longer. So then they go to the destination, and what happens there? It's offloading. Again, simply a case of scan the QR code on the pod of the pallet, and it automatically knows that all the boxes in that pod or pallet are delivered to that location where the scan was taken, and that's done through the GPS coordinates. At the planting, again, we have crews. They'll come along. They will then scan they can either do it at pod level or they can do it at box level and say these seedlings are being planted. We have to scan them out, or they may move some boxes to another area and then scan them before they go and plant them. So it knows approximately where they are being planted. Not precisely, because it's not done at the seedling level. Right, we've just gone through the first lot of trialing with this. Obviously, things don't always go smoothly right at the start. One of the big things was the QR label durability, and we've managed to get a solution which are sealed and coated labels which stick to shit like a blanket. They don't come off. They will stay in place and will be there pretty much permanently. And then the other thing was bulk scanning accuracy. I mentioned about the ability to actually do a sweep, and we've managed to get that working. So that's one of the big successes. The other couple of little challenges we had was in some of the cool stores where you got fluorescent lighting, some of the QR codes scanning didn't quite work that well, but managed to change the camera properties for that to happen. Other little things like stupid little things like with Android devices, when it's scanning and it picks up a QR code in its scan or sweep, it beeps. And if you're too fast, it'll end up in what's called beep overload. And we're heading to about 29 boxes before the thing ended up in this endless beeping loop, and it wouldn't. So we managed to change some properties in the Android operating system through the back door when you install the app, and it fixes that little beeping issue. Right. Mention lighting conditions. The other thing that was interesting was how easy it was for people to actually pick this up and run with it. the usability of the mobile app. We've found it's quite surprising how quickly people became accustomed to using the application, how simple it was to use. And then final insights, again, got that full chain of custody, which we've now tested. We've got one of the things we're wanting to do is improve the dashboard that we've got for this. What we also want to do now is, because we've done our first trial, is if there are any foresters or nurseries that want to trial this through summer plantings, we're very keen to talk to those people, because we want to get this trialed even further so we can do more of a rollout in the next coming planting season. So back to the why. What we've seen is, in terms of seedling morbidity, now that people know that things are being tracked from pickup through to delivery, planting crews know that plants or the seedlings are there, so there's no time wasted. They know the urgency of actually getting to there and actually doing that planting. Proof of delivery disputes, that's pretty much gone away. There's no fudging of paperwork, because you've got a GPS scan and you've got a timestamp on that, so you know when the seedlings were delivered, and you also know when the planting crews pick them up. For PF Olsen, who have helped us with this first trial, they have already seen a massive payback on the return of the cartons, which used to go missing a lot. And lastly, in terms of biosecurity, we now know where seedlings from a nursery planted in the forest without having to cope with the masses of paperwork that is currently being employed, if at all in some cases. So let's plant it. So again, special thanks to PF Olsen, who have helped with the trials, and also Forest Growers Research for helping fund the development of this application. Any questions?
You said the QR codes, you've made them to stick on really, really well. I know you've got planting boxes back with QR codes on. So what happens next year when you want a different QR code? You're going to have to stick it over the top?
No, we use the same QR code.
Oh,
yep.
Right.
The QR code stays with the box. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct. Because then that's the way you also know when the boxes are being returned, because you've got that unique code on that one box. And once it's returned, it's available for it to be refilled with seedlings again for another distribution. All right. No other questions? Right. For all my sins, I've got a second slot to talk about integration. All right, we're changing colours here just to keep everyone awake. One of the things Integral does, aside from all the forestry sector development, is work with software tools which are used in a whole raft of other industries. Has anyone heard of Bluey? You've got kids. Shopkins, Talking Pets, you know those toys? Anyone know those? Anyone's nodding. Not admitting it. Right, there's an organisation called Moose Toys in Melbourne, one of the fastest growing toy companies in the world. I think they're sitting at number 6 at the moment in the world. And those brands I've just mentioned are theirs. They produce all the toys that are distributed globally by retail outlets online as well. So we first engaged with Moose Toys back in 2016 or 2015. And what they were doing is they had an ERP or finance system called Oracle JD Woods, which if anyone has heard of it before knows it's very proprietary. Actually, Oracle bought it, so even some of the Oracle products wouldn't even talk to it. Moose Toys also had what's called a Product Lifecycle Management System, PLM, which manages the development of a new product right from inception, ideation, right through to the manufacture and bill of materials, all those sorts of things. Those two systems wouldn't talk. So they came across us and we said, yep, we can do that. So we started doing the integration work of those systems, and we've further developed a whole raft of other integrations from external systems as well into their finance ERP system. So that's just a little bit of background of what we've done with integration. And one of our customers, we've got multiple others, Fisher and Paykel, you may have heard of. Right, so I'll go through. Apologies, I was a late ring-in for this presentation, so this got cobbled together last night. So, what is integration? It's moving data from one system to another, and then possibly back again. Why? Because we need to. A finance system needs to know about what's happening with the product lifecycle management system. Just the same as, for example, in forestry, you may want your finance system to know about jobs that are created in GeoMaster. So those are the sorts of things. We need to be able to transfer the data. How? Well, the first thing is you could get someone to pick up a piece of paper or have two screens open if they're really fancy and start keying data into one system based on what they see on another screen. The other way is uploading, downloading things like CSV files, text files. Again, it's manual, and there are potential issues with that as well. The other way is automatically, and this is when we start to talk about real automated integration. So it's using files, it's using APIs, it's using anything that is available to those systems to be able to interrogate the data. Oh, and when? How often do we want this data to move? Is it every 30 seconds? Is it when something changes in one system? So we're talking about event-driven, or we're talking about in batch process. So it's done every night, which is quite often what happens with things like data warehouses, which get refreshed overnight. Right, so I just quickly take you through what we call the integration challenge is. If you can imagine you have like a forest management system like GeoMaster, and you have a finance system, which might be, some people use NetSuite, I know. Some people use, what's the other one? Microsoft Dynamics, Finance, and somewhere else. There's a whole raft of them. Xero is another one, not used so much by larger firms, but it does exist. So let's say you want to move data from one to the other. You could set up what we call a point-to-point integration, where one system interrogates the other, pulls data across, and then vice versa. So that's what we call just a single point-to-point. Then if we say introduce another system, let's say, for example, a health and safety system. We want to know if a job has been created for a pre-event, and we say that we want the finance system to know what that pre-event is because a contractor is going to come along and start issuing invoices, and we want to know about that in the finance system. We also want to know about it in the health and safety system because we know that that event's going to happen and there needs to be some oversight from a health and safety point of view. So that needs to go in the health and safety system. So then we've got these three systems all together. Then let's say we have another fourth system that we want to add into it, and we'll say this is forest security. So let's say an event has been created for pruning. We need to know that there's going to be a crew going in there. So the forest management or forest security system needs to know that that contractor is going to be coming in with certain vehicles which are associated with them, and allow that through permits and automatic gate systems and what have you. All the while, you've still got the other three systems there. So you can see what's starting to happen. We've got this little spaghetti thing going on, and we call this tightly coupled. And it is so because there are multiple touch points. It brings about a few problems. One is monitoring. How do we make sure that the data is actually flowing at each of those touch points? What happens if we want to change one of those systems out for another one? If we have a look at, let's say, the finance ERP system, there are 6 integration touch points there. They'll all need to be decoupled, and if a new system comes in, they need to be recoupled. And it's not even just replacing systems, it's even upgrades which have that problem. We've come across that a number of times. And what if we need to add a 5th system? It's going to start to get very, very unwieldy. And that's not to mention security and data governance. So what's the answer to that? And it is working on a hub and spoke type scenario where we have an integration platform that sits in the middle, orchestrating the movement of data from one system to the other. So in the forest management system, if you create this, let's say, pruning event, the integration platform will say, okay, with that data, I need to push that out to the forest security system, finance ERP, and the health and safety system. So it's that movement of data has been orchestrated by the platform. Why is this good? One of the things is it's relatively easy to add another system. We call that being extensible. It's easy to add more resources. With integration, some of the data, because of the frequency it moves, can be quite processor intensive. It requires a bit of computing grunt to do. In a platform, if you have that focused in one place, you can simply throw more resource at that one particular point rather than having to figure out where the issue is and bottlenecks are in multiple point-to-point situations. If something goes wrong with one of those systems, it's relatively easy to isolate it and manage the problem. So that's, yep, easy to monitor, troubleshoot, and it remains flexible. And we call this scenario loosely coupled. So what does Integral do? We have a product that we use quite extensively called Magic XPI. It is in fact an integration platform. We've got a number of customers, even in this building and across the road. Some of the key features, it does support big data. It is cloud friendly, so we can have hybrid cloud and on-premise installations. The way that works is you can actually have the whole thing just on-premise if you want to, but if you want to have it in the cloud, you can, and it integrates with on-premise systems using what we call local agents. It's device agnostic, and not so much device agnostic, it's agnostic with every individual other ecosystem. So it works with Oracles, it works with Microsofts of the world, and anything else that comes along. Salesforce.com, Sugar CRM, you may have heard of some of these things. The idea that the makers of XPI had right from the start is they will not align with any one particular big company. We'll make the software agnostic. Doesn't mean to say that they work closely with these organizations because they do. They have certified connectors for Oracle products, Salesforce.com, Sugar CRM, and there's a whole raft of others. I'll talk about code-free and secure. Just the code-free thing, it's very, very quick to develop, and a lot of it's drag and drop and configure. Like key features, very quickly, be able to connect to anything, have an effective way of managing data transformation. So when you're moving data from one ecosystem to another, they don't, sometimes the information doesn't exactly line up. So for example, one system could have a date, one format, the other one has another format. So you need to be able to do transformations. Some take comments and some have numeric values. And again, you need to potentially do some transformation to some data in there as well. I mentioned rapid development, supports asynchronous and synchronous data transfers. So that's one to the other and maybe back again. One go. Scalable. The way this product is licensed is based on threads. Entry level is 4 threads, so that's just like integration workers. It's like a post office, queue at post office or bank. It's like having 4 tellers. When the queue starts to get a bit long too often, you go and start adding a few more tellers to the front counter. We talk about this thing called enterprise grade, which it actually is. It's developed in such a way that all the processing is done in memory and it can be replicated. So it could be replicated on more than one machine at any one point in time. So if something fails on one, the other one will recover and repair what's been done. And that for that reason, some of the stuff's been used quite a bit in things like banking applications. I mentioned on-premise and cloud, and the comprehensive monitoring and reporting. Okay, back to GeoMaster. One of the things that we've been talking about is how we make GeoMaster more integration ready. What we want to do is make any sort of integration event driven. So it's pushing out data based on jobs, change of contracts and crews, supervisor, manager, patch information, products. We're talking about chemicals here, quantities and rates, starts and finish dates, things like that. We want to be able to make those things visible to the outside world, to things like an integration platform. And again, it's the ingestion of data as well. Just a couple of things there, financial information. So once let's say a harvesting operation has been completed, we know some of the final information, we can pull that back into GeoMaster. So that information is there for foresters to look at without having to ask finance people, how much does this cost? So costs and rates. So that's one of the things we're working on. Give you a couple of use cases in forest industry. Anyone recognise where that is? It's local.
Your driveway?
No, it's not our driveway. It's actually round the back of the Green Lake. Just a phone photo I took while I was out running.
Is that on your way to all the teams last year?
Yeah. Okay. Use case number 1. This is with our friends across the road, Pierre Folson. It's GeoMaster Fits Assura, which is their HR, health and safety, and operations software that they use. So the integrated data that we are working with, so we're pulling contractors and crews, supervisors and managers, forest harvesters and skids, and events, all those different classes as well. So that's data that is coming out of GeoMaster and going into Books, which is their planning system, and Assura, which is their health and safety and HR system. So the outcome there, reduced double and triple handling of data because it flows automatically and it's event driven. Single source of the truth of key data, and that's quite an important one. When organisations trying to decide where data originates from, they also need to determine where that single source of truth is going to end up. And it's not necessarily in something like GeoMaster, it could be in the finance system. And that could be things like, contract information, what have you. And sure, what does need to happen is something like GeoMaster does need to know about it and use it. But then if it's updated in the finance system, potentially, that data needs to come back and be updated in GeoMaster. So all the correct information about the contract sits in GeoMaster, but it could originate from and will be maintained in the finance system. The other one, Assura is a mobile application, and one of the outcomes for them in this case was the fact that the mobile application always had the up-to-date data. And lastly, it was all about timely information, making sure that when things were closed out from a health and safety point of view, that was done to the other systems. Use case number 2. It's actually from this building here, and KT has recently implemented an electronic docketing system for woodlots coming out of the forest on the back of trucks and trains. So we've integrated a number of systems. One is obviously the FIPS WoodTrack system, which is the docket accounting system being used here. The Loader app, which is the mobile application that loader drivers use on forest when harvesting, so they're recording information about what's being loaded onto trucks in terms of the species, grade, the length, treatments and whatnot. And in some cases, they actually have a weight from the actual loader itself through load sensors. The other system is, the other area where data is coming from is weighbridges. So we know that when a load crosses a weighbridge, it has a sequence number. That sequence number comes back via the integration, and we pick that up and can marry that up with the actual docket that was loaded up in forest. And the other one was Trimble WSX, which is used by rural forest haulage. And that's actually where the docket originates from, because they are the ones that go and dispatch a truck to go out and pick a certain load of wood up. So all those 3 systems need to talk to each other, and we've managed to do that quite successfully. It's been running now for about a year now. So integrated data, docket pre-advice, the loader driver data, which I mentioned comes from the loader drivers who have a mobile app in the cab reloaders, and the weighbridge data, which is obviously that weight data. So the outcome, elimination of legacy paper docket system, close to real-time data. Sometimes some of these things need to wait for connectivity, and like I said, that is potentially going to be overcome in the next 12, 18 months. And obviously the reduced data entry errors, because in the past, I don't know if anyone's seen the old paper dockets that used to get used. They were done in, I think there were 4 copies. One stayed with the loader driver, the other one stayed with the truck driver, the other one went to the customer, and so on. They're all handwritten and manually entered at the weighbridges. So what that meant was there was obviously a delay in getting that data in the system, and there was that risk of human error in data entry. Not to mention how the loader drivers were actually filling up these dockets, which if anyone can read hieroglyphics, they would have been doing quite well in that job. So integration. that's a little bit about what we do. And focus for Integral is to introduce more of that into the forestry products that we develop, and obviously create, an easier job for people so they don't have to go and your key data, transfer CSV files and break them on the way through. So thank you. Any questions? Silence.
Thank you, Anthony. We've been talking to a lot of clients this year, various places, times, and every time we see a new client or an existing client, they go, how about? So there's a whole pile of things that we've asked, and I'm just going to throw them at you. If anything of interest, please get back to us. Right, schedules. A couple of clients have come to us on this. The first client, it was for the Australian ETS system. And one of them was schedules. If they have a scheduled event and for some reason it's pushed back, they would like the following events of the schedule to get moved back instead. So, and that is also for scheduled as well as planned. So if that is of interest to you, please get on with that. Another one was when pivoting from, I can't remember what type of thing.
Early age.
Early age to a longer rotation.
When you're
So
starting out.
So they would like to pivot from a short rotation to a longer rotation schedule, keeping a record of what they originally started out doing. That was another thing they wanted. Next one is local, and this is for FSC monitoring. What they wanted to be able to do was have items in the schedule for monitoring, but they wanted it forest-wide and not just attached to a patch. So they might be out monitoring bats or other species they care about for FSC. And if they detect a bat, they would then like to start surveys, regular surveys of their bat population within that forest. So we thought the possibility of attaching a schedule at something higher than a patch, potentially up to a forest. The schedule would not be of silviculture nature. It would be purely a monitoring one. And page. And with conditional items. So if something is detected, turns on extra events such as monitoring events for the species. Another client would be able to start a schedule for something other than its plant date, such as an ETS registration date. So there are a whole pile of things that we've been asked, and we'd like feedback on what you may find interesting and useful. Right, GeoMaster. We've added multi-map printing and exporting. This is a shortcoming that the GeoMaster always had. And we have a product for Arc Desktop only called GeoMaster, and that had that sort of capability. So we're trying to just bridge the gap between GeoMaster had and what GeoMaster losing, because GeoMaster is not getting updated to Arc Pro unless somebody is quite rich and wants to throw money at us. So one thought was add auto page size and orientation capabilities that GeoMaster had. This would be, you still have to define all your PHX files. You'd have an A4 stand map, portrait, landscape, A3 portrait, landscape, etc. And instead of dropping from the map, from the GeoMaster, what type of template you're going to use, it would just automatically pick one based on a convention. So yeah, for the GeoMaster users, this may make the pain less bad. contact us if interested. Another one is from a potential client, and they would like prescription templates to allow multiple maps. So just not the map of the event, but slope maps and stuff like that. They had a whole pile of maps that they sent out to their contractors along with the prescription. So if that is interest, please hit on to it, contact us. And another client that we're talking to, or potential client we're talking to, do you have point and line GIS managed events? No, that's a damn good idea. So I'm thinking for that, it might be if you're doing mode stuff or stand edge boundary spraying or something. A line one might be useful. Point stuff could be where you found pests and dispatched pests. And they could either be single or multi-point features. So if that's something of interest, also get in contact. Right. Got asked at Forest Tech a couple of weeks ago, getting these LiDAR stem locations and heights from using Interpine or something like that. You guys do that, don't you? What can we do with them once we've got them? So I've just seen, I don't know. One thought was, after a bit of mulling, possibly Harvest Manager could query each setting for LiDAR points, figure out, and then they would have 100% number of stems you're going to get, and if it's also got heights there, you get heights. I don't know if that's of use, but something we could do. And next one's from David Harry's at Interpine. How come House Manager doesn't have job numbers? Or integrating back to your finance system? I said, oh, I don't know. So that was something we could do as well. My thought was probably add it to a harvest setting because that's the likely to be per crew or something like that at that point. So right, integration. We've obviously been talking about this internally and have been talking to client or two on integration. So this has come up. Also talking to another client at Forest Tech in Melbourne last week. Is it okay if we put stuff into, I think it was the end table or something? I go, no, we'd rather you didn't do that directly because GeoMaster, if it gets stuff moved from underneath it, gets a bit antsy. So we'd rather handle that ourselves. And even if you don't use our integration services, we're seriously considering adding integration tables so clients who are savvy enough to do coding can do stuff and not upset GeoMaster's database. So I suspect that's something we're actually going to do and not just a potential view. Okay, my gut feel. Right ahead. Right. We have a client in the room has a major issue with the tree view when you go and edit an event back in the day and then save it, and then the tree view goes from whatever that date was back to current date, and it can take minutes. I've been tasked by Connor to please speed this up. He's had a go at it, and he got it faster, but not 100% reliable. So
it needs to be 100%.
So I suspect over the Christmas break, when the rest of the team is away, I will be in the office and not being bugged by people. And what was that?
Don't look at anyone in particular.
No, Connor, no. Well, in fact, they're all bad at the moment.
I like to be there, Luke.
Yeah, I know. You're pretty good. So anyway, my plan is for the 142 releases to speed up the tree view. This probably not just affect the client I'm thinking of. I suspect all of our larger clients have this to a certain degree. It's just when
you get a lot of events, and it's got to traverse all the way through and time through them. It doesn't go fast. So we're aware of this. It's our intention to speed it up. Right. 1st of March 2026. Party day for Luke. It's my birthday, by the way. But Arc Desktop is retired. And implications of that is we'll be sunsetting GeoMaster ArcGIS Desktop. We're not going to leave you completely in the lurch, but we won't be able to debug beyond that point. So we'll do what we can for you, but then again, we haven't had any major issues with GeoMaster Desktop for quite some time in the GIS realm. It's very mature, but just be aware there is a limit to what we can do for you. So please consider moving to Pro. I don't know who I'm talking to in the room. I know a lot of you are moving or progressing that. GeoMaster Web, we're going to continue developing that. Connor's been busy with the API quite recently. I suspect his next port of call is speeding up the event list. As you saw, it's a tad slow. And beyond that, editing of events, creating events, or
I'd like to finish getting up the rest of the data that's not there.
okay.
I'm sure you probably saw during Caleb's demo, there was a bunch of fields that just said not implemented.
Oh no, so that's
So
not good.
maybe implementing those would be good.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes, performance first.
Performance, extra fields, and then making stuff editable, being able to track things, because at the moment what eFileson's got is largely view only, bar creating assessments.
Yeah.
And slightly further down the track, is GeoMaster Server. That's the thing with the tree view, all the attributes and all the reports and all of that. There's a complete ground up rewrite. It's going to be based on GeoMaster Web code. It's going to get a modern user interface, so it doesn't look like it was developed in 1995 like it was. I was toying with existing GeoMaster GM servers, putting a ribbon on it, but somebody last week talked me out of it. But yep, no many names or anything. Right, GeoMaster Mobile. Hugh's doing this. Also, like FieldMan, it's going to be developed in .NET MAUI, meaning we'll have the one code base. Unlike at the moment, we've got two. And Hugh has started this already. He's currently working on pulling maps from online and portal. And it was it the pre-registered or pre-rendered? What's the term?
Ahead of time map.
Ahead of time maps. He's currently working on that.
Offline areas.
Offline, yep. So that's currently being developed. Initially, we'll have effectively what we have for GeoMaster Mobile now, but with the ability to pull maps offline, be able to synchronize, pull the GeoMaster database to a mobile variant, allow sketching of notes and synchronizing to online or portal those notes. Next step beyond that would be creating events out in the field, signing off events in the field, updating events. That will be dependent on GeoMaster Web API development. So that's capable of doing that. We'll add it to GeoMaster Mobile. I don't think I'm speaking as my thoughts here. Well, this is not an company policy, but my thoughts is that we will probably create a smaller API specifically for GeoMaster Mobile, so you do not need to buy GeoMaster Web to get this functionality. Me, yeah, I can see you're upset. But
I don't think a GeoMaster Web will be a necessary purchase just to be able to synchronize to GeoMaster. And I will be told if I'm wrong later.
Christmas is coming up.
Yeah.
We've already scheduled the meeting with you.
Oh, this is a slide completely from last year. It's the old mobile might work. So online portal, organization, notably the GeoMaster Web API for event creation, sign off. Right, on it.
Oh, I thought you were going to go through it because that's a very short slide.
Okay.
Well, I guess I can go over it. So I've inherited Yield Table Manager, one of our who left, and so in the short term, the plans for it are to write a web API. So GeoMaster Web will need this. It's how we can talk and get yield. Can't get that. And also, I plan to make it easier to query the database. So currently, everything's all just encrypted as well. It's basically all just munged into one column in the database, and that's your entire yield. It's horrendous for querying. So I'm hoping to make that a lot easier because we've had a lot of people asking, can I query my data? And the answer is usually no. Longer term, we're also going to look at doing a web version for Yield Table Manager.
There you go. Right. So what you see, we're going to support Survey 123. I've finally got agreement internally that I'm allowed to do this, so that will be done. That will be your surveys will be able to pull. At the moment, we have various clients have written their own way of doing this, but this will be a standardized way for Silver QC to pull a Survey 123 survey. We figured that adding Silver QC support to FieldMan wouldn't be cost effective because everyone's doing their Silver QC QCs using Survey 123. So you've got a free product that's against something that our directors would probably like money for. So we're going to just support the cheaper option, I think. Still with QC, medium term, potentially a rewrite, potentially a web interface, but we may think about re-envisioning what Silver QC is, because it's personally I find not that pleasant to use, but I'm not a Silver QC a forester or anything, but I find the codes that it uses just confusing. Anyone who's ever tried to put stuff in there, there's code 10 means something, code 20. Yeah, I'd like to redo somewhat to a more user-friendly product. And having been to Forest Tech the last couple of weeks, it's amazing what is available on terrestrial LiDAR these days. There's backpack LiDARs, you can just walk through forests and get fantastic stemmed point clouds. There are harvester heads for doing thinnings that nowadays they're starting to put LiDARs on those too for choosing where they should thin based on density of, so you can get the right stocking. But ultimately that's going to generate a point cloud of the stems as well as it drives through. So probably a interpine thing they'll do eventually, but yeah. So longer term, yeah, we may just ingest a processed point cloud from somewhere and make that and into Silver QC. So right. And I said we'd do this last by now. This is not happened. The team has been very busy this year. Our licensing,
up and dies on us every so often. If your license server's in a virtual machine and you move it to a different virtual host, it dies. If there's a power cut, it dies. If you get a Windows update occasionally, it dies. You get the point. So we spend a little bit of time relicensing people through the year, and we'd like to avoid doing that. So our plan is to adopt an online licensing solution. Currently got one in the house that other products use, so we're just going to piggyback on that. Ultimately, all that should happen is you shouldn't have licenses die as much as possible. Like poor Katie had one die the other weekend, was homesick, and I ended up doing a Teams call to get it going. So sorry about that. So just, I think Vivek's going to get you don't know this. This is your thing to do, by the way. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Okay, also from last year is you can, if there's interest, adopting hosting docket system, and something that we've already had a stab at back in the day was a eroding management system, but something we could add into GeoMaster. The web version, don't know. So only version, don't know. But if interested, get in contact. Right. This is from a technical forester at Forest Tech last week. How come GeoMaster doesn't have a scheduler for events? Both silviculture and stuff like that. We do have an add-on product called Harvest Scheduler that I think we have a couple of clients using. Doesn't integrate particularly well, is my impression. Doesn't do silvicultural stuff, it's just purely harvesting. The thought was this is something we could add to core GeoMaster potentially. It could be a manual thing, could be an optimizer. I was a bit scared about the optimizer, but yeah, he's got some papers from previous employees on this sort of stuff. So
Many theses on
yeah,
crew optimization.
yeah. So we have some background information on that, but if that's of interest, please let us know. Oh, at the end. Any questions about stuff we've covered today? Anything else you would like to talk to us about? Floor is now open.
Are you going to share the slide deck?
You will? Sure.
You mentioned before putting the tree data into Harvest Manager. Why not include the tree side as well to the forest?
Timberland.
Because the Harvest Manager is built on a harvest area is built on sand.
Yep. So you want all of your stems from planting forward in GeoMaster. Yep. I'm aware of this. Is this purely a Timberland's wish, or?
I don't know. It's to me it seems
Yep.
perhaps forestry as a whole is not so much area based; it's becoming STEM
Yep.
based, and you can collect individual information about your STEM. You know, your height, your age.
Yep.
So how do we record that in GeoMaster and the variability within a STEM?
Yep. Okay.
STEM evidence.
Yep. Would put in. This is just purely off the top of my head, so don't read anything into this. We could put underneath patches stems. Could be a spatial enabled table.
You could drop it down and you 100,000 stems per stem.
Yeah. And then we could have a
Wonders for the
full history of each stem at a time.
Make the tree even faster.
yeah.
Yeah.
Run it to a halt.
Yeah.
But it is a good thought.
Yeah.
Because as you're right. We are working towards identifying by the stem rather than plots and averages.
And
Yeah, that's where all the remote sensors.
yeah,
I imagine if we were to do it, it would have to be point in time. You know, like you say, you'd have too much data throughout all of time to display it in GeoMaster.
If you're using drones to assess your stands and collect that data on a certain schedule, like make big pre and post spin, for instance, or a survival type thing. So you won't just blanket capture your whole forest.
Yeah.
On an operational level.
so you've got a stem, because you're flowing it with a drone after planting, and you know it's exactly there. In X number of years, somebody flies it with a LiDAR or a drone or something, or plane or something, and so there's an idea of height. Depending if it's a terrestrial LiDAR or something, you might get full stem cloud or purely just a DBH and height. And then a few years later, you get another snapshot of it.
Yeah, I don't think you're matching this tree and this
So
snapshot is not this tree and this one. I don't think that the technology is there.
so we're not matching. We're not going from it was that tall,
Yeah.
and some years later it was that.
No.
And
I mean, ideally you would, but I don't think that.
Unless you have a chip or something.
okay,
Unless you had a chip in it, exactly. Like you can't. Yeah, you can't do that from
Okay.
remote sensing at the moment. It's just not enough accuracy.
It'd almost be like you'd essentially just query another database when you look at things.
Yeah.
Because here's your boundary of your stand, and hey, I'll clip it to my
Yep.
iPod or whatever, and I've got 100,000 trees in there.
Yeah.
And this is how tall they are.
okay. We'll write this down. I am somewhat aware of this desire already.
Yep.
I've been trying to avoid that one.
I have clients asking for
Oh, sorry, Katie.
I have a lot of clients asking.
Okay, so
Voice is getting loud.
so KT and Interpine, and if it's anyone else who is interested, please get back to us. So this is stem at time and not fully tracked stem, unless you tell us otherwise.
Yeah, well, or someone else tells you otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
You're
would
able
be
to develop that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It might be possible in the future.
Well, that guy from Brazil was doing.
Yeah.
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 The Internet of Tree.
Oh, but
What is that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was doing that.
Yeah, oh, that's
Tracking
right.
each tree.
that was quite remarkable. They had I don't quite know how, but a thing that was just wrapped around the stem, and it measured growth. I think it had a humidity and temperature.
Had
as well.
also IoT stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things.
No idea how get the battery to last that amount of time. It's quite some years battery life.
7 years, I think.
Yeah.
It still wasn't quite so granular because it was one at the center of every plot.
Oh yes, it's not every stem
Yeah.
because these things cost, but whatever your current sampling rate is for plots, they were putting one pretty much where you put a plot. So, but you get a good idea of your DBH growth. You're not going to get heights. That's going to be your LiDAR system to get those. Yep. Okay.
And if any more feedback, Luke's email address is sam@integral.co.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. Yes. Okay. Somewhere in the new year, may sit down with Interpine and PT and discuss. We are redeveloping GeoMaster, so it's a good time. We're not going to put it in existing GeoMaster.
It's scope creep always happens. Isn't it?
Yep. Yep. Okay. Anything else from anyone?
It's on the slide with some sort of suggestions.
I'm aware of that. We decided to.
Quite a thing.
So
And we were there. Slide was there.
Yeah, I know.
He's got that.
Yeah. Carolyn and myself and Christine from ION/BSI will be having a meeting on PSP in the new year. And anyone else who has interest or wanted to discuss PSP, get in touch.